Okay, I mentioned in my last video that the next week was going to be a chance for me to test out some things I want to do in retirement. And spoiler alert, 2 weeks have actually gone by, so I get to tell you a little bit about what's happened in the week after the experiment week, too. It all came out of the experience I had with my dad when he was in retirement, how he used to kind of drive me a little bit crazy with the fact that he was never really quite ready to start his day until pretty late in the day. He would wake up late, which was fine, but then he would go right to reading the paper in his pajamas, not getting around to breakfast, not getting around to getting dressed until pretty late. And then when it was time to go somewhere, that's when he would finally be like, oh, yeah, I need to eat breakfast. Oh, I need to get dressed. And it just made everything really late. And that drove me crazy. And I said, when I'm in retirement, I can see my tendencies being that way. That's certainly how I treat my days off. But I don't want that to be how retirement is. I might decide that I'm going to read something or scroll or whatever for a long period of time in the morning, but I want to make sure that I've already gotten myself up, done the most important thing, and am dressed and ready to start my day. So that was my challenge during this week of trying out retirement. Other people might call it a staycation, but I'm trying to figure out what my retirement life is going to be. So here's what I found out. My first challenge was to exercise first, which where I live in the summer is actually not a bad idea anyways, because it's so hot here. More on that later. And I will say that I did that 5 of the 6 days. One of the days it was really kind of bad weather, so that made that harder to do. I could have still done a routine in the house, but I knew I wanted to take the dog later, so I just kind of put it off until later. I would consider that mostly a success. My second challenge to myself was to make sure that I was dressed and ready to start the day. And then I would make myself my cup of coffee, make a healthy breakfast. And at that point, I could relax and I could take my time as much as I wanted to because I was ready. I will say that that was a success too. I managed to get myself dressed pretty soon after I finished exercising. My other challenge was to make sure that I'm not wasting the time between dinner and bedtime. That was a little bit less successful for me. I really did find that after dinner, I kind of got into this slouch kind of place. But I did make sure that I cleaned up a little bit more than maybe I normally worry about. Get some house chores done, get the kitchen cleaned up. I know we're considering downsizing when we retire. And when you're in a smaller space, just being super tidy matters a lot more than when you've got a fairly large house. So that I would give myself a C grade on. I wouldn't give myself an A on that. I don't know that I did real well with that. In summary, I found that getting up and exercising, taking that dog out for that walk first thing, that was a challenge. It's not my normal way of doing things. Waking up and going right into that didn't always go really well. And the days where I had set out the clothes ahead of time went a lot better. As the week went on, I found it was easier in part because my canine alarm clock was not going to let me sleep in because he had decided this was the new normal. I also realized that as much as I think this is a good habit to do in retirement, I think I do want to give myself one day a week where I don't have to do that. I found for myself on that last day, there was nothing that could get me moving. I just wanted to stay in and relax, but mostly a success. The other thing that I found is that after my trial week was over, my question was, could I continue to keep these things going as I went back into work? And the reason why I think that's important is when you start retirement, you bring yourself, you bring your ways of life, you bring your habits into it. And the idea that you're going to change all of them those first months of retirement is probably not true. We need to build those habits ahead of time. And I don't know that I did that incredibly well. I had the first 2 days of the week I did really well with, and I did make it out to do exercise one other day that week. But in general, it was about 50-50. I did not continue that through. Evening, surprisingly, was a little bit better. Just having this in my head that I'm going to do a little bit of tidying up before bedtime, that I'm not just going to sit between dinner and bedtime, that worked. And I actually did some exercising in there. My handy dandy watch was giving me commands for this month, and if I didn't do things in the morning, I had some work to make up in the afternoon, and so I did that then. I want to keep working on this as I go. I want to keep this habit going so that when I hit retirement, I can continue to live into it. I'd like to know what you guys think and what you would like to have your retirement strategies be. Leave a comment down below if you've got something that you would like to work on before you hit retirement. And now, as I mentioned before, it is story time. If I look like I am dripping today, it is only because I am. We woke up this morning and the temperature in the house was kind of beige. I wondered if somebody had turned off or turned up the temperature during the night because they were cold. And it turns out that no, that was not the case at all. In fact, the air conditioner compressor is not working. I promise you, there's something about retirement that I found in all of this. We have wonderful HVAC people that we've worked with, and they were able to come out today before 1 o'clock to see what was wrong. And this is what was wrong. Take a look at that. This is what had happened to our fan. The guy who came out said he had never seen that before. There's a fly. Great. The guy who had been here had said he'd never seen that before. And I always find it kind of fascinating when we get to be part of something that is new to these people that we work with. And so he said he's going to see if he could get that fan replaced. He figured he could do that in pretty short order. And he found out that, in fact, if they're going to order this from the manufacturer, it's not going to be in until Wednesday. If he, stupid fly, if he has to, they can maybe try and make it out of pieces that they have. And if so, maybe they can get that a little bit earlier. But it's hot. It's really hot. My thermostat upstairs says it's 83 in the house, and I'm pretty sure my thermostat is lying because it's 95 outside, and when I just walked outside with the dog, it didn't feel a whole lot cooler in the house than it did outside. So it's hot. I am really hoping that they get this sooner than later. They said that there is this part at another company in Chicago, and they're going to fast send it, and hopefully it'll be in before the end of the day of Friday so they can put it in and we can have a nice cool weekend. If it doesn't work out, we're getting to do kind of an interesting Uno reverse. Most of the people who live in this household are going to go live with oldest daughter down in the city in her apartment because she has air conditioning. So they're going to be there cooling off. I am going to stay here because we have the dog and the dog can't go stay with her. So I'm going to make sure that the dog is okay in this hot house. Luckily, we do have access to a pool. Both me and the dog have access to a pool. So we get to spend some time going into that and cooling off. And that's very, very welcome. And that will help a great deal. Meantime, I have learned 2 things for retirement. First is when this first happened and we realized the air conditioning wasn't working, and knowing that our HVAC unit is not particularly young, it's young enough that we wanted it to go for quite a few more years, but it's not particularly young. Our thoughts first went into having to replace everything. And that is not how I wanted to spend the money in our bank accounts right now. We were gloating that we finally graduated from college. Our youngest graduated, and now we had the money that we could start saving and not having to worry about being so tight with expenses for a little while, and make sure that we're putting a little bit extra away for those first years of retirement. And the thought that all of that we've been saving, or a lot of that which we'd be saving, would have to go out the door right away was kind of disappointing. But I also realized that we can do that right now. This is extra money, but what happens when we really are on a budget? And it was just a reminder to me to make sure absolutely, absolutely, absolutely that I have a buffer in all of those savings plans, all of those budget plans, because very expensive things can happen at a moment's notice, and you need to be able to take care of it. So that's my first learning from this event of the day. And my second is this: I don't like heat. I've never liked heat. I I'm not someone who craves it in the winter, but I can deal with it usually. And I am finding today I'm not dealing with it very well at all. I'm feeling really miserable. I mean, really not feeling good with all of the heat. Like I said, as soon as I'm done with this video, I'm going to go find that pool and jump in for a little bit and just try and cool off. And I think that's another thing to remember, is that, our bodies do change as we get older. We can't necessarily support the things that we used to. And also a reminder, in all this heat, if you do have any neighbors that are elderly, please, please, please reach out to them. Make sure they are all right. Sometimes people who are on a fixed income are very slow to turn on the air conditioning or to put it down to the temperature that it needs to be, because they don't want to pay the prices. So please check in on your neighbors, invite them over to sit in your home if it's cool. That's what I have for today. I'm Lisa. This is Retirement Countdown 1000. I am counting down my way to retirement. And if you like this video, please subscribe. I have a few subscribers and would love to have a few more. It just makes me feel like there's a point to me doing this beyond just focusing my own thoughts when others like and subscribe the videos. Thanks so much, and I'll see you again next week.